And this,
Saul Goodman's office.
Call me, Brian. I'll let you know what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
So, Michael, I want to ask you something. When you come back to a location like this, and you've shot this set many times, do you have a system for lighting this particular location, or are you thinking about the emotional tone of this particular scene?
I think, can I speak for Mike?
No.
Sure. Please do.
I find that when we get to this set, Mike's usually at the craft service table. And his gaffer is working very hard to light the scene.
You bastard.
In Breaking Bad, we always set up shots and light to the emotions. We really do. I mean, there's probably very few lawyers' offices that are lit in this nice, warm, colored light and very moody like this. But it's usually the story that we like to hear. And I love the coloration of this. I take a lead off of the art director's palette for the sets. So this has got a lot of green and a lot of yellow in it, and I sort of follow suit.
You want your criminal associate taken into police
And then I
custody?
go to craft service.
This plan that Walt pitches here of getting Jesse arrested for something, this was very tough. We struggled for a long time figuring out what Walt's move could be. And
You mean what
he could possibly want to happen now that Jesse has basically said that he's going to murder these guys. How is he going to stop?
How's he going to neutralize the
How's he
whole
going to
thing,
stop Jesse? And this is
I didn't flinch when I read this. I thought it was he's racking his brain to think of some way to prevent him from making this huge mistake, and I thought, wait a minute, that's not a bad idea, and so he explored it. I thought it was good.
And Brian, how much fun is it to sit across from Bob and do this kind of stuff? I mean,
Yeah, Bob Odenkirk playing Saul Goodman has brought a very justifiably light tone. You were talking about the light tones generally were with Dean Norris and Betsy Brandt, and that's true. And now Bob Odenkirk can bring this character to life. And while the other characters like Jesse and Walt are angst-ridden with anxiety about what they're going to do and if they're going to stay alive, Bob justifiably brings this, devil-may-care kind of thing, and he's just a mover and a shaker. This is what he does.
he's just not as emotionally invested.
Back at the crossroads.
Back at the crossroads. Was there a green neon light outside? Or was
this is something we started in season 2. And I just carried it across so that there's sort of a callback to that.
But you lit this green. It was green on the day.
It was not. I lit this green. The windows are not naturally green. I just thought it really worked for the story and for this character.
And she did such. I mean, she's really not a full-time actress, and she does such an amazing job in this scene.
What's his name?
And Michael, as I recall, this is actually not the same hotel room that we used in season 2.
This is a floor down.
You would.
That's
I wouldn't
right.
have
That's
known.
right.
I would not have known.
Yeah,
This
it's
is a floor
the
down.
floor below us. Yeah, that's exactly right.
For ease of use. But Slovis, the reds, you do that in the color correction? Like you leave everything alone, everything goes away except for the reds? Did you pop those out?
Everything is intentional in this show, so each color is dealt with individually. We kept it monochromatic except for those reds, and the wonderful art and the wonderful wardrobe also. We work all together so that everything is intentional, and she just stands out in this kind of green light.
This is the amazing thing about this show is the first time I worked on it, there's not just a color palette, but there's a color palette which is laid out on a timeline so that each character is associated with a color, and those colors actually evolve as the season evolves.
Kathleen Del Toro, is our designer, wardrobe designer, and she does a terrific job.
It looks like they blued up the meth there a little bit. Just for
here
that
comes the
shot.
Banksy scene.
The baby.
Yeah. This wasn't easy either. Every time you put it's crying.
Brian, you should
The
say what
baby's-
happens every time they bring the baby into the set.
Yeah.
Everybody's
The
gotta-
baby's mother is right off screen to the left.
Right.
And we get the baby for how long?
Like an hour. I don't know. There's 2. We sort of designed it so the baby gets the writers were very conscious of so we can get the baby into the crib for most of the scene. But there was a version of this scene which Peter, I think you might have been the only person to see it, is that when Banks drops the big bomb, we cut to the baby falling over in the crib.
Stop it.
But having said all that, this is a really different scene for Mike, isn't it, Jonathan?
Well, and just another lighthearted character. No, that's me, and at last, here I am.
We've been waiting.
You know, I thought if I was going to say anything about this character, it was that I thought, you know, Mike is probably 97% sure of what he does. It's the 3% of angst and bewilderment that cause him it's a bitch. It's a bitch.
I love the juxtaposition between you and what you do and your granddaughter and that the time that you spend with her and truly enjoying her company, and then you go kill someone. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
This speech, by the way, was really well written, but your delivery on it, I can't even joke about it. It was so fantastic. I was captivated to a point where I think a couple times I forgot that I was supposed to respond in some way, and I was like, oh my God.
It was astounding.
Yeah, you were really terrific.
Because I think we did a couple passes in each of these angles, and every time Jonathan Banks was so perfect. It was actually maybe the easiest or the hardest scene to edit because you could go anywhere at any time, and he was just giving this amazing performance. And I think we just ended up just gradually creeping in closer and closer and closer as it went on.
And this is, by the way, written by Sam Catlin.
And you.
Well,
You know,
this particular speech was Sam's, I have to say.
if you pull way back on this shot, which Michael didn't, but you know, we look very much. We look like we're out of the same litter, for God's sakes.
It's a bald men's meeting.
I have great affection for bald men, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Because I are one.
That's right. I'm not just a client.
There's less
I
and
own the company.
there's less and less hair on this show.
I know there's like.
But Michael, it's interesting because he's the one guy that knows everything about everybody.
That's
And,
absolutely true.
you know, he goes between all these worlds and he knows all the dirty little secrets.
I love this character, by the way. It's just a pleasure to do.
Yeah, it really is. It's dynamic because in his calm exterior lies a calm interior. But beneath that is this when Walt finds out that Mike is working for Gus?
Yes, that's right,
This,
yeah.
this is that moment, yeah.
Yeah. My partner's out sick, and it's just me. And the call comes in, and it's
And I gotta say, you know, in a general sense, this is what makes Breaking Bad such a delight to be a part of, is because you see speeches like this that have the courage to take time to break the normal patterns or rhythms that you see on most television shows that have to be quickly edited and just get to it, get the information out, and get out of it. But you know, they have the courage to be able to do that. You guys writing this?
Listen, you know what? I'm going to tell you. After doing this for over 40 years, the general rule in television is if the camera didn't fall over, then you print it. And you know, Bryan and I talked about this before. Just letting the camera rest, let it be on the actor for a little bit, and you know what? Sometimes it'll work out quite well for you.
But also in this show, we also pay a lot of attention to people listening. And it's because half the job there is the actor that's listening to what's going on.
I think the best part of the scene is the actor who's listening.
Well, look at that.
See that listening?
Look at that listening. Look at that listening. Ooh.
I stayed up all night working on my listening face.
But I do think there's something when you just, if you let a take really breathe out without cutting for a long time, the audience just starts getting pulled into it because they're expecting the cut.
Just a warning.
Well, you're really wondering what does Walt think of this?
Of course.
Is Walt getting the message?
Just trying to do the right thing. See, that's so good. I just want to watch myself.
No, but John, what you were saying, I think is true. Is that Adam it didn't have a lot. There's no trickery to this setups. There's no wild movement. The camera's handheld because that's the Breaking Bad style.
You know what? Excuse me for interrupting. Before we go away from this, though, you and I talk about, because between us, we have a few years doing this, and without being just sappy and sentimental about the whole thing, just to be grateful as an actor to be a part of this and be proud of it. It feels good. It just feels good.
Well, you've contributed tremendously. You're an important part of the show now. Mm-hmm. We're going to miss you in season 4.
Yeah. No, they haven't let you know, obviously, about the new Mike show, have they?
Spin-off.
Just Mike.
Just Mike. Just plain Mike.
That's what it's called, Just Mike. And
we're back at the we call this Combo's Corner because season 1. This is where he was.
Season 2. That's right. This is where Combo was.
Season 2.
Combo was shot.
Gunned down.
And of course, Jesse still has his sobriety medal up there.
Mm-hmm.
Blake's,
which now with poison.
Blake's methyl burgers.
With or without.
No,
that's the special sauce.
We really appreciate the fact that a local company would let us use their
poison
product
burgers
like this.
with that.
Very appreciative. Actually, it lends authenticity to the story.
Take a walk.
This is a scary scene.
And the handheld is an interesting thing, too, because the entire show is handheld, when we do go onto a tripod or onto a dolly and the camera becomes less moving, you really notice it.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be used to our advantage as well.
On specific occasions when it needs to convey a certain mood, yeah.
Exactly.
So Jesse is certain that he's cooked at this point.
Yes.
This guy's Jeremiah. He's an interesting guy. He's a contractor
Victor, yeah.
Really?
in Navajo.
And isn't that Russell Means' cousin? Is it Russell Means or Dennis Banks? One of the two. Whoever. I know who they are.